Happy Rosh Hashanah to all. To those who don't know what Rosh Hashanah means, it is representation of Judgment Day, but not just Judgment Day upon the Gentiles, as it was Judgment Day upon the people of the land of Canaan when Yehoshua, the first Joshua, led the children of Israel into the promised land. The second Yehoshua, or Joshua, or as in some circles, Yeshua. Yes, the second Joshua, the second Yeshua, will lead Israel once again, not from their captivity in Egypt, not from 40 years of sin in the wilderness, but thousands of years of sin being scattered all around the world. You see, the first coming into the promised land was nothing compared to what the next will be. But in order for this to happen, there must be judgment upon Israel's enemies. And that's the reason for Rosh Hashanah. Now, I wanted to clear up something. I was talking about the abomination of desolation that the Romans, the Caesars of Romans, placed on top of the Temple Mount. Now, we all understand that Jewish tradition claims that the Western Wall is parts of the temple. It is not. It is what's left of the Roman fortress. Now, I will go to the Bible where Yeshua speaks of the abomination of desolation as spoken of in Daniel the prophet, Daniel 9. Now you must understand that there was an abomination that occurred on the holy place before. It was Antiochus IV who did it. But he did not destroy the temple. Therefore, he did not make it desolate. See. So, Matthew 24 and verse 15. Therefore, when you see the abomination that makes desolate, is how it should read, the desolator, which is spoken of through Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. But him that is not. So as soon as you see the abomination, in other words, it's not saying when you see it sitting in the holy place. No, as soon as you see that abomination, the desolation coming, here's proof. Luke 21 and verse 20. This is how Luke described what Yeshua Messiah was saying. And when you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Now, you see, folks, Luke had a better understanding. Don't forget, the Antiochus IV desecration of the temple already occurred. And Titus, the Roman general, desolated Jerusalem and the temple. So, when he is saying in Luke 21 and verse 20, when you see them coming, run for the hills, run for your life. That's what he's saying. Okay. And those days of the vengeance for what? Vengeance upon Judah and Jerusalem for rejection. That particular generation, that adulterous generation who rejected the Messiah. But it was only for that generation. Okay. Now, so the abomination of desolation, I'm not saying that it was an incorrect translation, standing in the holy place, but it should read this: when you therefore shall see Jerusalem surrounded with armies, then run for your lives, because this is the abomination that makes the holy place desolate. And incidentally enough, the holy place obviously is always referred to as the temple, or the area of the temple. But in this case, so is Jerusalem referred to as the holy place. Because by omission in Matthew 24, the word Jerusalem is missing, but it does not mean that he's not talking about Jerusalem. You see, folks. You notice it says, then them which are in Judea flee into the mountains. All right? What does that mean? That means the armies haven't surrounded Judea. They have surrounded Jerusalem. So those that are in Jerusalem have time to escape. I mean, those that are in Judea have time to escape. What is my point here? My point is, to those who think that this particular passage has not happened yet, you are waiting for something to happen that shall not happen forevermore. Don't get me wrong. Judah and Jerusalem are going to be surrounded with armies again. But Judah and Jerusalem's destruction is finished. I pointed a scripture out, I can't remember what it was, several videos ago, that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Jerusalem's destruction is no more. That Judah's destruction, I should say, is no more. It is over. And I have proved it with Daniel 9, using 5th grade math, that the kind of math that the preachers who are taught in seminaries, who have doctorates and PhDs and BS, and rightly so, attached to their names. So, just to prove my point, now remember, it is written here in Matthew 24 and verse 15, where when you see the abomination that makes desolate spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, or it should read surrounding Jerusalem. Let him, whoso reads, let him understand. So let us read Daniel 9 and let us understand. Now, before we start reading this, let me warn everyone to put away your PhD, put away your doctorate, put away your master's degree, and put away your BS degree when you read this chapter. start in verse 1 all the way. I will start in verse 16, because verse 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 is a summary of Daniel's prayer. And now, O Jehovah our Elohim, you have brought your people forth out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand, and have gotten renown as at this day. We have sinned, we have done wickedly. O Jehovah, according to all your righteousness, I beseech you, let your anger and your fury be turned away from your city, Jerusalem. It is very, very important to understand what he's talking about here, folks. Your holy mountain, because of our sins and for the iniquities of our fathers. Jerusalem and your people are becoming a reproach to all that are about us. Now therefore, O our Elohim, let the prayer of your servant and his supplications, and cause your face to shine. Isaiah 60, verse 1. Upon the sanctuary that is desolate for Jehovah's sake. Now, it was made desolate one other time by Nebuchadnezzar. And just as Babylon received punishment, so shall the desolator of Jerusalem, Judah and Jerusalem, who performed that desolation a second time, so shall the same desolation be brought upon the Babylon of this world today, which is all the Gentile cities of this world, not exclusive to Rome. Now therefore, verse 17, O our Elohim, hear the prayer of your servant and his supplication, and cause your face to shine upon the sanctuary that is desolate, for Jehovah's sake. O my Elohim, incline your ear and hear, open your eyes, and behold our desolations, and the city which is called by your name. For we do not present our supplications before you for our righteousness, but for your great mercies. O Jehovah, hear. O Jehovah, forgive. O Jehovah, hearken and do. Do not wait for your own sake. O my Elohim, for your city and your people are called by your name. Jerusalem. Verse 20, and while I was speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before Jehovah my Elohim, before the holy mountain of my Elohim, yes, while I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation, and he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give you skill and understanding. At the beginning of your supplication, the command came forth, and I am come to show you, for you are greatly beloved. Therefore, understand the matter and consider the vision. 70 weeks are determined upon your people and upon your holy city, Jerusalem. Now, let me remind everyone that this was translated from Hebrew, I believe, to Latin and then to English. And the translators were pagan Christians. And so, but even now, it is still not hard to understand if you use fifth grade math. To make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness. Now, Christianity today does not believe this at all. They do not believe in making reconciliation for iniquity to Israel. They do not believe of reconciliation for iniquity for Jerusalem. They believe in supersessionism, which is rejecting Jerusalem and rejecting all Israel, all the tribes of Israel. Not knowing that it is impossible to get into the kingdom without going through one of the individual gates of each of the tribes of Israel. And to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and the prophecy and to anoint or re-anoint or reappoint the most holy place. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks. Not 7 weeks plus 62 weeks. 7 weeks. Now, when Messiah came the first time, he wasn't the prince. He was the suffering servant. Read it. How can you be a prince and be a suffering servant at the same time? You can't. Isaiah 53. Verse 1, who has believed our report, and to him is the arm of Jehovah revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of the dry ground. He has no form or comeliness. No, he's not a good-looking European, long-haired, blue-eyed, beautiful man. No. He had no wonderful masculine form or comeliness, but he was not a wimp either, because he was a stonemason, which in those days was considered a carpenter. And we shall see him. There is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief, and we hid our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, and we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Jehovah, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities, and the chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. This is the suffering servant. This is not the prince. Okay? So get that out of your heads right now. So 7 weeks from Messiah the Prince, or from the call to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks. So you take that whole section, you set it aside for a minute, because this prophecy timeline is divided into 3 parts, not 2, as your preacher have falsely claimed. Now it says 62 weeks, the street will be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. And once again, after 62 weeks, not after 7 weeks and 62 weeks, you see. But after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off. There is your suffering servant. 62 weeks, 62 sevens. 62 times 7 is appointed and allotted for the suffering servant. of Isaiah 53, and only 62 sevens. No more, no less. Period. What about the 7 sevens? We have to wait. But not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come, the desecrator, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, probably a flood of men, and unto the end of war desolations are determined. So, at the end of the war, which ended right around September of 70 AD, desolations are determined. So, Jerusalem became desolate, the holy place became desolate, and Judah became desolate. There are your desolations. And he, that is the Roman prince, who later became Caesar, Titus, shall confirm a covenant, or shall make a covenant, or reaffirm a covenant that he had with them already. Who is they? Who is the many? Is the word Israel there at all? No, it is not. Is the word Jew? Can it be deciphered as many? No. The only way you're going to find out the truth is read history. Read history. You see, Titus, the Roman general, he did not want the temple destroyed. Google this up, folks, for yourselves. He wanted it as one of the many places in Caesar's pantheon. You see. But what happened? What happened was this. Caesar, his 4 legions were so incensed at the Jews that he lost control of them, even though he made them agree not to destroy the temple, because he had plans for that temple for himself. But they destroyed it anyway. And within 3.5 years, the middle of the week, the destruction was done. The war was over. The desolations were complete. But the clock keeps ticking until 3.5 years later, fulfilling the 7th week. We still have the 7 weeks that was talked about in the beginning. So, now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, and don't forget, Titus the Roman general placed the Roman fortress, the Abomination of Desolation, on top of the temple, on top of the holy place, after all the walls were torn down. And the western wall you see today is the western wall of the Roman temple. Now when Messiah said, let him who reads understand, let him who reads Daniel understand. So verse 25, know therefore. So he's telling you're supposed to know this. You are supposed to know this. Know therefore and understand. So you're also supposed to understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 sevens. So when Messiah the Prince comes, when he, the suffering servant, has been accepted by the Father, he then becomes the Prince, and only then. So, what you do then is you count from what? From the call to rebuild Jerusalem. Did anybody in this age make that call? Yes. His name is General Shlomo Goren. This should be this should be shouted on the housetops. But who is it that's saying this? Who besides me is telling you this? Who? I don't know of anybody. Everyone who has a voice should be shouting this loud and clear, that the call was made Shavuot on the Hebrew calendar, on the Roman calendar, 1967, which was June 7, 1967 on the Roman calendar. So you count 7 sevens, and you, of course, get 49. You count 49 years, and you come to Shavuot 2016. But as one notices, there must be a jubilee at the end of each and every 49 years or 7 sevens. There must be. That jubilee ended this summer of 2017 on the Roman calendar, Shavuot, in June. It ended. What now? The counting is over. That's what now. Because the 62 sevens from Zerubbabel unto Messiah being cut off, Zerubbabel making the first call to rebuild Jerusalem. The 1 week was finished with Titus the Roman general fulfilling the prophecy of Matthew, Matthew 25, I believe it was, Abomination, Desolation. And the one that was mentioned first, the one that we are supposed to keep the closest eye on, folks, that nobody talks about. And I mean nobody. Nobody talks about it. And when I talk about it, I am told to stop reading Daniel 9. I'm sorry, folks, but Gabriel said, know and understand. Yeshua said, let him who reads Daniel understand. So I choose to read Daniel and to understand, and do it with 5th grade math. There's no formulas writing on the chalkboard in algebra to figure this out. This is 5th grade math. Your doctorates, your PhDs, your master's degree, your BSs, or whatever it is that you have, they all get in the way of the truth. Because you people with those degrees, you want to make it complicated to make yourselves look good. And in so doing, you successfully hide the truth from those who follow you. Shame on all of you for doing this. I have told you I have taught you how to calculate this 5th grade math. Now, one more thing. Just like Babylon was destroyed for making Jerusalem desolate, so shall Rome be destroyed for making Jerusalem desolate. Verse 27, and for the overspreading of abominations shall he make it desolate, even until it is consumed. And that then be determined shall be poured out upon the desolator. All you have to do is look what happened to Babylon, and you will see what will happen to Rome and all the cities of this world. Not just Rome, but all the cities of this world. Read the 6th or the 7th vial. Yes, the 7th vial and you will see that the portion of Babylon is appointed for all the cities of the nations. Once again, this is not hard to understand. A fifth grader can understand it. I have said it many times and I will say it again. Your degrees, your doctorates, they deceive you. They blind you. You will never come to the truth, flouting your intelligence. And that is the truth, my friends, because it is written. Matthew 11, verse 25. And at that time Yeshua answered and said, I thank you, O Father, ruler of heaven and earth, because you have hid these things from the wise and the prudent and have revealed them unto babes. You see, folks, I have no college degree. I barely have a high school diploma. And yet, I can understand this. And I will tell you that it's not of my own doing. It is because what is written in Matthew 11 and verse 25. It is Jehovah's doing.